Behind every closed door and down every moonlit alley, a secret is waiting to be told. Delores Elaine Hill Productions invites you to step into the darkness with whispers in the shadows. From the glitz of a diamond dynasty to the dangerous halls of corporate power, 3 stories of deception and justice are about to unfold. Watch the shadows closely, because the truth is never where you expect it.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're becoming literary detectives. We're going to break down the narrative formula of a pretty fascinating modern mystery collection and figure out exactly what makes these stories just work. So let's just jump right in with the big question, right? The one that's at the heart of every great thriller. What is that secret sauce? That perfect mix of character, conflict, and conspiracy that makes a story not just good, but something you absolutely can't put down. And to get to the bottom of it, we're going to dissect our case study for today. It's a collection of 3 pretty distinct short stories that, as you're about to see, all follow this really fascinating narrative blueprint. It's pretty cool. Okay, so here's our game plan for cracking this case. First, we'll look at the core stories themselves. Then, we'll dig into the hero and villain archetypes. After that, we'll map out the whole conspiracy, and finally, we'll trace the path that leads to justice. Sound good? All right, first things first. Let's get a bird's eye view of the 3 tales we're going to be analyzing. Think of these as our core exhibits, the key evidence for our whole investigation into this narrative formula. You know, what's wild is that a pattern starts to show up almost right away. I mean, look at this. The settings are totally different. You've got a diamond mine, a chemical company, a massive empire, but the central conflicts, they're super similar. We're talking stolen identities, missing heirs, and some serious corporate corruption, again and again. Okay, let's move on to our first key ingredient, the protagonist. See, every single one of these stories is anchored by a very specific kind of hero, or heroine in this case, and honestly, this choice is what drives the whole story. It's the engine. So the author basically builds her stories around 2 really powerful and, let's be honest, super relatable archetypes. First up, you've got the lost heir. Think of someone like Suzanne or Anthony, just regular people who are suddenly thrown into this world of crazy wealth and danger they never even knew existed. Their goal? It's super personal. They're trying to get their stolen life back. And then, on the other hand, you've got the whistleblower, like Annie. This is the person who finds a deadly corporate secret and has the courage to speak up. Their motivation is about a kind of justice that's bigger than just them. What makes them both so compelling is that, really, they represent that hidden strength we all hope we have inside of us. And this quote, it just perfectly captures that critical turning point, you know? That exact moment that really makes the whole formula work. It's when this ordinary person is forced by their circumstances to become, well, extraordinary. The shock of it all doesn't break them. Instead, it ignites this fire inside, giving them this powerful, life-altering new purpose that, as a reader, you just can't help but root for. Okay, so next up. Every great hero needs an equally great challenge, right? And in these stories, it is never just one bad guy. Nope. It is always a massive, sprawling, and super intricate conspiracy that's designed specifically to keep our heroes from ever finding the truth. And this conspiracy, it unfolds in this really clear, escalating pattern across all 3 stories. It's like a 3-step process. It always starts with just a subtle feeling of unease, you know, that feeling of being followed or noticing some weird late-night activity. Then that suspicion leads to a shocking discovery, like a hidden document or a secret meeting. And finally, that discovery puts them in mortal danger. The stakes just get higher and higher, going from a simple puzzle to a literal fight for their life. So the big question is, who's pulling the strings behind this whole web of deceit? Well, unmasking the masterminds reveals another core piece of the author's formula. And this one, it really plays on our deepest fears. Okay, this is absolutely crucial. The villain is never some stranger lurking in the shadows. It is always a powerful, trusted insider. We're talking about someone like Houston Steele, the charming chairman of the board, or Vincent Harrington, the super respected CEO. They hide their greed behind this perfect mask of legitimacy. And that's what makes it so effective, right? It taps into that primal fear we all have of being betrayed by the very people we're supposed to trust. And of course, they always, always underestimate our hero's will to fight back. Every single time. All right, so with our heroes and our villains now set on this inevitable collision course, let's look at the blueprint for the final act. How does the truth actually get revealed, and how is justice finally served? Well, that journey to justice pretty much always follows this really satisfying 4-part arc. It kicks off with a single initial clue. That clue then brings in the professionals, the private investigators like Nick and Nora or Harper, who start methodically connecting the dots. This whole investigation then leads to a huge dramatic confrontation where all the evidence comes out, and that, of course, culminates in justice being served. This structure just works so well because it brings order out of chaos, and it gives us, the audience, a really conclusive and deeply satisfying win for the good guys. So when you put all the pieces together, you've got the unwitting hero, the hidden villain, the step-by-step investigation, you start to realize this entire formula, the whole thing, is built to serve one single, powerful, central theme. This universal and relentless pursuit of truth, and the incredible resilience it takes to see that truth prevail, especially against all odds. And what's so fascinating here is that this theme of resilience, it's not just some literary device, you know? It feels so authentic because it seems to be deeply connected to the author herself. Delores Elaine Hill actually started her writing career later in life, which just goes to show that the determined spirit she writes about, that fire that drives her heroes to overcome impossible odds, is something she seems to live by. And that, I think, is why the formula feels less like a rigid blueprint and more like a genuine worldview. So what we've learned is that a clear formula isn't a bad thing. It's not a limitation at all. In fact, it can be a really powerful framework for exploring these big, timeless themes of justice and resilience. It shows us that even when you're up against an overwhelming conspiracy, the truth can find a way out. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. If you stumbled upon a hidden truth in your own life, which role would you play? The lost heir, the whistleblower, or the investigator?
You've glimpsed the mystery. Now let's uncover the facts. Welcome to the official deep dive analysis of Whispers in the Shadows by Delores Elaine Hill, available right now on Amazon. The link is in the description box. Tonight, we're breaking down the 3 distinct cases that make this collection a must-read for every mystery lover. From the resilience of the human spirit to the final triumph of the truth. Stay with us as the investigation continues now.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to say, looking at the stack of materials we have for today, the vibe is, well, it's different.
It is, isn't it?
Usually we're wading through white papers, tech specs, maybe some sociology journals. But today, it feels like we've walked into a dimly lit office on a rainy Tuesday.
Right, the kind with a frosted glass door.
Exactly. And we've poured a cup of lukewarm black coffee, and we've just cracked open a confidential case file that was never meant to see the light of day.
It certainly does have a specific atmosphere to it. We are shifting gears from the abstract to the narrative today. We are looking at the anthology Whispers in the Shallows, Tales of Mystery and Intrigue by Delores Elaine Hill. And you're right, the mood is set right from the title. It implies secrets, hidden corners, and, things that people are desperate to keep quiet.
Exactly. Whispers in the Shadows. It sounds like something you'd find on a dusty shelf in a library that hasn't been visited in decades, maybe tucked behind a row of encyclopedias.
Yeah, totally.
But what we have here is actually a collection of 3 distinct narratives. And I think we should think of them as 3 separate case files. We've got a Diamond Unveiled, Annie is Missing, and The Stranger.
Right.
Now, usually, I'm a bit skeptical of anthologies. Sometimes they feel disjointed, Like the author had 3 half-baked ideas and just stapled them together. Does this actually hold together as a cohesive deep dive topic?
That is a fair skepticism, I get that. But I think what makes this collection really worthy of a deep dive is that while they are distinct stories with different characters and settings, they function together almost like a study in human resilience.
Resilience, okay.
We're going to see private investigators, corporate conspiracies, missing heirs, hidden identities, all of that. But if you look closely, the central theme binding them all together is the resilience of the human spirit when faced with profound deception.
So it's not just about solving the crime.
No, it's about surviving the lie.
That's the hook for me. It's that classic noir feel. You've got the private eyes, the femme fatale, or in this case, the female powerhouses, and this looming shadow of corporate greed.
Yeah.
It feels like we're peeling back the layers of a city to see the grime underneath. But does it actually pull off that noir vibe? Because usually, modern attempts feel a bit forced. people wearing fedoras in 2024 for no reason.
It avoids the cliche by grounding it in very modern anxieties. It's not just dames and foggy piers. It's hostile takeovers, it's environmental impact reports, and the vulnerability of our own identities.
Okay, that makes sense.
So whether we are in the high-stakes world of diamond mining or the gritty industrial sector of a chemical plant or just, riding a city bus, the core conflict remains the same. It is the relentless pursuit of truth against powerful institutions.
Or powerful individuals.
Exactly, individuals who have gone to great lengths to bury that truth.
So our mission today is to unpack these three webs of deceit. We want to understand what drives the villains because, spoiler alert, there are some classic villains here.
Oh, absolutely.
And we want to celebrate the tenacity of the investigators who bring them down.
And just to orient everyone, before we descend into the details, let's give a very brief tease of the three cases we are covering.
Right. Good idea. Case number 1 involves a missing heiress and a diamond dynasty. It's got family secrets that have been hidden for 20 years.
A long time.
Case number 2 takes us into environmental crimes, a whistleblower, and a daring rescue operation.
Very different feel to that one.
A completely different feel. And case number 3 starts with something we've all done, meeting a stranger on a bus, and ends with a battle for a massive business empire.
All three highlight that idea that the truth is often hiding in the most unexpected places. A dusty attic, a desk drawer, a stranger's wallet. So let's not keep the listeners in suspense. Let's open the first file.
Let's do it. Deep Dive Part 1, A Diamond Unveiled, The Secrets of the Mines. This story kicks off with a duo that I think we'd all want on our side if things went south. Nick and Nora Chapman.
The quintessential power couple. They are clearly an homage to the classic Thin Man characters, but updated. They run Chapman investigations.
And the source material paints this really vivid picture of their office. It's raining outside, pouring actually, drumming against the glass, and they are surrounded by shelves of dusty books and files.
It's almost cinematic.
It is. You can smell the old paper in the rain, and then the phone rings, and it cuts through the silence.
And on the other end is Suzanne Lansing. Now, this is the inciting incident. Suzanne isn't just a client looking for a lost item or a cheating spouse. She is looking for herself.
Yeah, that's the heavy part. She's suffering from this feeling of being watched, this paranoia. But the real kicker is what triggered it. It wasn't a threat or a break-in initially.
No, it was something much quieter.
She was cleaning out her adoptive mother's attic, which, by the way, is always where the secrets are hiding. Why do people keep incriminating evidence in the attic?
I think it is a psychological need to hold on to the past, even the dark parts. You can't quite throw it away.
I guess so.
But let's look at what she finds. It's an old newspaper article. It's yellowed, brittle. She picks it up, maybe just out of curiosity, and sees a photo.
A photo of a man and a woman, Ronald and Roberta Hoffman. The headline is about the famous Fortune Diamond Mine dynasty and the kidnapping of their baby girl, Suzanne Hoffman.
And just imagine that for a second.
Now, put yourself in her shoes. You're in a dusty attic, maybe the light is a little dim. You look at that grainy newspaper photo of the baby, and you realize that's you.
It's a moment of total dissonance. The baby in the picture has a specific birthmark, or maybe the resemblance to the parents is just undeniable. But the text confirms it, the timeline matches.
And suddenly the woman who raised you, the woman you called mom for 20 years, is transformed into a stranger.
Or worse, a criminal.
Can you imagine that moment? You're going through old receipts and photos, and suddenly you realize your entire identity is a fabrication. It's built on a lie.
It's devastating.
And it gets worse because she finds a letter, right? It's not just the newspaper.
She does. She finds a letter from Roberta Hoffman, her biological mother, addressed to her adoptive mother. But the context is devastating. It reveals that her adoptive mother wasn't just someone who had put a child in need through a legitimate agency.
She was the kidnapper.
She was the kidnapper. Her name was Margaret Summers, and she was the former nanny.
That is a psychological bombshell. Discovering your mother was actually the person who stole you from your real family. But what's interesting here is the nuance the author, Delores Elaine Hill, gives to Margaret. She isn't painted as a pure monster, is she?
No, she isn't.
Because usually in these stories, the kidnapper is just evil. End of story.
No, and that's an important distinction that adds depth to the narrative. The text describes Margaret's motivation as a twisted desire for motherhood. It wasn't purely malice, It was a desperate, selfish love.
So it was a warped affection.
A very warped affection. She wanted a child so badly, she convinced herself she could take Suzanne and give her a better life, or at least a life where she was the center of it.
Right.
She deluded herself. However, as Nick and Nora dig deeper, they realize Margaret didn't act entirely alone. She was manipulated.
Wait, manipulated? So she wasn't just a rogue nanny who snapped?
No, she was a pawn. Someone else put the idea in her head, or at least created the conditions that made the kidnapping possible.
And that leads us to the real darkness in this story.
Yeah.
Because while Margaret is the one who took the baby, she was being steered by a much bigger, much more dangerous force. We have to talk about the man who stepped in to pick up the pieces of the shattered family. Houston Steele.
Houston Steele. Now, here's a study in predatory behavior. Let's look at the timeline carefully. Ronald Hoffman, the biological father, dies in a skiing accident shortly after the kidnapping.
Okay, stop right there. In a mystery story, a skiing accident is never just a skiing accident. That screams foul play. It's too convenient.
Exactly. It removes the protector. So you have Roberta Hoffman. She has lost her baby daughter to a kidnapping. And now, mere months later, she has lost her husband to a sudden tragedy.
She's completely adrift.
She is grieving, she is vulnerable, and she is incredibly wealthy. Enter Houston Steele.
He plays the role of the comforter perfectly. The source says he was the comforting shoulder for the grieving widow.
And he does it well. He says all the right things. He's there for her.
But it's a performance. He isolates her. He marries her. And crucially, he takes control of the Fortune diamond mines. It's textbook gaslighting, right? He makes her feel like she can't manage on her own.
It is. It's a classic, albeit horrific, strategy. Identify the vulnerable, isolate them from their support network, and assume control of their assets. He becomes the chairman of the board. He becomes the face of the company.
And for years, that's what everyone sees. The loyal stepfather, keeping the family business afloat.
But he's not just a greedy stepfather. The twist in this story takes it from a family drama to an international crime thriller.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a hard left turn. I was expecting Houston to be your garden variety corporate jerk. You know, tax evasion, maybe some bribery, cutting corners on safety.
And that's what the investigators thought too. For a little while, they were looking for financial irregularities within the company itself.
But it was bigger than that.
Much bigger, until they decoded the ledger found in the study during their preliminary recon.
Right, the Black Spade ledger. Walk me through this, because this isn't just about diamonds anymore.
It changes the genre entirely. The Black Spade isn't a nickname, it's a network. It's a criminal syndicate.
A syndicate?
Yes. We're talking about a syndicate that manages logistics for illegal exports across 3 continents. Diamonds, weapons, you name it. Steele isn't just a CEO, he's a Don. He's running a massive illegal operation using the legitimate diamond mines as a front.
A front to wash money and move contraband.
Precisely. The Fortune diamond mines gave him the perfect cover. Who's going to question a few extra shipments from a massive, respected corporation?
Which explains the paranoia Suzanne was feeling. She wasn't just being watched by a jealous stepfather or a private investigator hired to keep her away. She was being tracked by organized crime.
It raises the stakes immensely. It explains why she felt she was being watched. It wasn't just paranoia, it was a criminal organization keeping tabs on a loose end.
A very dangerous loose end.
Houston Steele didn't just want the mines, he needed the mines to keep his syndicate operational. If Suzanne returns, she challenges his ownership, she brings scrutiny.
And the whole house of cards falls.
The whole thing collapses. So for him, it's not just about losing money, it's about going to prison for the rest of his life.
So Nick and Nora have their work cut out for them. They aren't just reuniting a family. They are taking down a mob boss.
A very powerful, very well-connected mob boss.
But before we get to the takedown, we have to talk about the reunion. Because for all the crime and intrigue, the emotional core of this story is the mother and daughter finding each other after 20 years.
The scene in the cafe is pivotal. It's described so beautifully. Roberta is there, just having a coffee, perhaps trying to escape the stifling atmosphere of her home with Houston.
Right, just trying to get a moment of peace.
And she sees a young woman walk in.
Which is incredible, considering it's been 20 years. Does the text explain how she recognized her? I mean, babies change a lot in 2 decades.
The text emphasizes the eyes. It says she saw her own eyes reflected back at her, but also the mannerisms. The way Suzanne held her head when she was looking at the menu.
A subconscious gesture.
It's that maternal intuition, that biological connection that supposedly transcends time. She just knew. It was a gut feeling, a certainty that defied logic.
And Suzanne feels it too. There's this magnetic pull. She sees this woman staring at her and feels a sense of recognition, like a memory she can't place.
Yeah, it's a familiarity.
But they don't just run into each other's arms immediately in that cafe. They are smart about it. They're cautious.
I appreciate that detail. It shows they are cautious. They know there are stakes. Suzanne contacts Nick and Nora, and Roberta contacts her own investigator, Marcus Hawthorne, who she'd secretly had on retainer for years.
An old family friend.
I love that crossover moment. Nick and Nora get a call from Marcus, an old buddy, and they realize, wait, we're working on the same case from opposite sides? It's great.
It allows for a structured, safe meeting. They don't just meet in a park. They meet in a formal setting to reveal the DNA results.
In a lawyer's office, I believe. Very official.
And when that confirmation comes through, that Suzanne Lansing is indeed Suzanne Hoffman, it's the restoration of order. But it's also the moment that danger becomes real.
Because now that the heir is found, Houston Steele's control is existentially threatened.
And Houston suspects something. There's that tense scene where Roberta is trying to leave the house to meet Suzanne, and Houston is questioning her.
He's so controlling. Where are you going? Why are you so quiet? He even has his limo driver spy on her, report back on where she's been.
It shows his control freak nature. He knows his grip is slipping. He can feel it. But he underestimates Nick and Nora. The climax at the estate is pure action. Nick and Nora infiltrate the estate to unmask the Black Spade. It's not just about finding evidence anymore. It's about a direct confrontation.
And they find him in his inner sanctum, this hidden room behind a bookshelf filled with maps and ledgers. He's wearing a mask.
A literal mask.
A literal black mask. It's a bit theatrical, but it fits his persona.
And when they subdue him and pull off that mask, revealing Houston Steele, it validates everything the family suspected. It proves that the skiing accident and the kidnapping were all part of a long con to seize the diamond fortune.
It all clicks into place.
It's a satisfying conclusion. Suzanne reclaims her name, Roberta gets her daughter back, and the Black Spade organization is dismantled by the authorities.
It really drives home that theme we talked about. Truth cannot be buried forever. You can hide it in an attic, you can hide it behind a corporate title, but it eventually comes out.
And speaking of burying things, that is the perfect transition to our second case file.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because while the first story dealt with diamonds and high society, Annie is Missing takes us to the other end of the spectrum. We are going to the dump.
Literally. So we see how money destroyed a family in a mansion. But what happens when that same greed seeps into the groundwater of a working-class neighborhood?
That brings us to Allmark Chemicals, case number 2. Annie is Missing. We are leaving the polished floors and heading to the factory floor. This story feels grittier, it's industrial, it smells like chemicals and danger.
It certainly does, and it starts with a character archetype that is very relevant today. The whistleblower. Annie isn't a detective, she's an employee, an administrative assistant, I think.
Right, just a regular person, diligent, pays attention.
And she notices unusual patterns, late-night activities, mysterious shipments that aren't on the official logs, trucks leaving when they shouldn't be.
And I think we need to give Annie some credit here. It takes a lot of guts to be the one who says something isn't right here, especially when you're just a regular employee, you're risking your livelihood.
Absolutely. The source text mentions she becomes an unofficial whistleblower. She knows she can't go to HR, she can't go to her boss. So she starts documenting everything in secret.
In a hidden notebook.
In a hidden notebook. She notes license plate numbers, times of unauthorized truck departures, and discrepancies in the inventory logs. She's building a case without even knowing it. And that notebook becomes the MacGuffin of the story, the object that everyone is chasing.
Because that notebook proves Allmark Chemicals isn't just making soap or whatever. They are engaged in illegal waste disposal to maximize profits.
A very specific kind of evil.
They are poisoning the community to save a buck, cutting corners on safety protocols that cost money.
A crime against the environment and the community. But Annie gets caught. She gets too close. She overhears a meeting she shouldn't have, a conversation about the dump site locations, and she is abducted.
And this is where the tone shifts to a missing persons investigation. The title of the story becomes the plot. Enter our new detective duo, Joyce and Allison. Now, unlike Nick and Nora, who are hired, guns expensive ones at that, Joyce and Allison have a personal stake. Annie is their friend.
That personal connection adds a layer of urgency. It's not just a case file on their desk. This is their friend who is gone.
So they aren't just solving a puzzle, they are saving a life. and their methods are different. Nick and Nora use DNA and infiltration of high society. Joyce and Allison, they go undercover.
A much more hands-on approach.
I love the undercover sequence.
Yeah.
Joyce goes in as Jennifer Davis, a temporary administrative assistant, to fill Annie's vacant position.
It's such a classic trope, but it works because of the tension. She has to smile at Mr. Reynolds, the head of HR, who turns out to be the bad guy, while secretly hunting for clues right under his nose.
He's the one interviewing her for the job. He's this outwardly charming professional guy.
Which makes him even more sinister. And the scene in the office is incredibly tense. Joyce knows the notebook has to be somewhere near Annie's desk.
And she finds it.
She finds it in a secret compartment in Annie's desk drawer. But then she hears footsteps. It's Mr. Reynolds coming back from lunch early.
Of course he is.
She has to hide in a storage room. It's that cat and mouse tension described in the text. She's pressed against the wall, holding the evidence, praying he doesn't open the door. It's straight out of a thriller movie. You can almost hear her heartbeat.
It's nail-biting stuff.
And once she escapes with that notebook, the story accelerates. The notebook contains a map to a dump site, a hand-drawn map.
And this isn't just a landfill. It's the scene of the crime. This is where they're taking the barrels of toxic waste.
And they realize this is probably where they're holding Annie.
I want to talk about the location. The author spends 2 whole pages just on the smell.
It's suffocating. It's visceral writing. She describes the air as thick with the taste of sulfur and rot. It disorients the detectives before they even see the bad guys.
And the landscape is just hellish. It's dark, it's treacherous terrain, mountains of garbage bags and rusting barrels leaking neon fluids into the ground.
It's a visual representation of the company's corruption.
And they're outnumbered. 2 PIs against how many?
Yeah.
4 guys.
4 armed men. And this is where the training kicks in. Joyce doesn't pull a gun immediately. She uses the environment. She kicks over a stack of chemical drums to create a barrier to create chaos.
Yes, the text mentions martial arts style fighting. They're not just investigators, they're trained fighters. They are dodging blows, taking down masked men.
It's an action movie finale. But Joyce isn't just fighting for sport. She's fighting to get to Annie, who is tied up in a shed nearby.
The stakes are so high, and they pull it off. They rescue her.
They rescue Annie, but they also bring in the heavy hitters. They call in their contact, Detective Williams, and he brings the FBI.
And this is an important detail. While the private investigators do the legwork and the rescuing, the scale of the crime environmental corruption requires federal intervention.
The PIs can save one person, but the FBI can take down the whole corporation.
The raid on Almar Chemicals validates Annie's suspicion. All her notes, all her fears were real.
And I really like Annie's character arc here. She starts as a victim of abduction, but by the end, she joins the agency.
That's a great twist.
It's a powerful transformation. Trauma turned into purpose. She decides she doesn't want to be the victim anymore. She wants to be the one finding the truth for other people.
She turns her fear into a career.
It fits perfectly with the author's philosophy about resilience. Taking something terrible and forging it into something strong.
So we've had diamonds and we've had chemicals. Now, for our third and final case, we have something that feels terrifyingly random. Case number 3, The Stranger.
This one starts in the most mundane setting imaginable, a city bus. A Tuesday afternoon.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
You're sitting on the bus, minding your own business, maybe reading a book or listening to music, and you see someone who looks lost.
Just a normal, everyday interaction.
Just the banality of it. That interaction probably lasted 30 seconds. Enter Harper Morgan Steele. She's our PI for this story.
And she's just on her way home from a case. She's off the clock.
She sees a man, nervous, fidgeting with his tie, struggling with a map. He just looks out of place. And she does what any kind person would do. She helps him.
She asks if he needs help. He's looking for a specific address.
She gives him directions. She even suggests a shortcut through a park to save him some time. A perfectly nice, normal thing to do.
And this is where the noir cruelty kicks in, because the next day, she opens the newspaper.
And she sees the headline, "Man brutally attacked in City Park." And it's him. It's the stranger from the bus.
And because she told him to take that shortcut, she feels responsible.
So when Harper sees that headline the next day, "Man beaten in park," it's not just sympathy, it's culpability. She sent him there.
She drew the map on his napkin. That guilt is a powerful engine. It pushes her way past where a normal citizen would stop.
So she's not hired for this case.
No, she inserts herself into it. She is driven by guilt to solve it. She goes to the hospital, and she teams up with her friend, Detective Michael Donovan, to find out who this guy is.
And this is where the story pivots from a random mugging to a corporate conspiracy. They find a battered leather wallet the police missed at the scene.
And inside is a letter. The stranger isn't just a tourist. His name is Anthony Williams.
And Anthony Williams isn't just a guy with a common last name. He is the sole heir to the Williams empire, which covers real estate and tech. He's a secret billionaire.
And he had no idea. He grew up in foster care, completely unaware of his lineage.
So he was an unwilling heir, or at least an unaware one. He was coming to the city to claim his birthright, but someone beat him to it, literally.
Enter the villain, Vincent Harrington, the CEO of the Williams empire.
We're seeing a pattern here, aren't we? Houston Steele, Mr. Reynolds.
Oh, definitely. Another corporate figure in a bespoke suit. Vincent Harrington is the CEO who was appointed after the original founder's death, and he does not want to give up control. He's like Houston Steele from the first story, just in a different suit.
He orchestrated the attack to kill the heir before he could claim the company. But Harper and Detective Donovan dig up the smoking gun.
The hidden storage unit. Again, the secrets are always physically hidden somewhere. An attic, a desk drawer, now a storage unit.
And what's inside?
A contract. A legal document that explicitly transfers inheritance rights to Vincent if Anthony fails to show up by a certain deadline. It's proof of premeditation. He wasn't just planning to scare him off, he was planning to make him disappear.
What stands out in this resolution is that it's a legal victory. Case 1 ended with a raid on a mountain retreat. Case 2 ended with a fistfight in a dump. Case 3 ends in a courtroom.
It shows the different ways battles are fought. Harper uses the law. She uses evidence, contracts, testimony.
And she helps Anthony transform from this nervous, beaten-up stranger into a confident heir who takes the stand against the man who tried to kill him.
It's a theme of redemption and identity. Anthony takes his rightful place, and Harper finds relief from her guilt. She acted as the catalyst.
It's amazing to think about. If she hadn't met him on the bus, he might have just disappeared, become another John Doe.
It emphasizes that strangers can alter the course of our lives. A 30-second conversation can change everything.
So we've unpacked the 3 cases. Now, I want to take a step back and look at the big picture. Let's synthesize this. What are we really seeing here in Whispers in the Shadows?
Well, let's start with the villains. We touched on this, but it's worth drilling down. In every single story, the antagonist is a man in a position of corporate or patriarchal power.
You got Houston Steele, the chairman of the board.
Mr. Reynolds, the head of HR who controls people's livelihoods.
And Vincent Harrington, the CEO. They're all at the top of the food chain.
And their motivation is identical. It's greed, pure and simple. Whether it's diamonds, chemical profits, or a tech empire, the motivation is financial control.
And the willingness to do anything to keep it.
They're willing to kidnap babies, poison environments, and beat up strangers to keep that control. It's a very clear commentary on the corrupting influence of power.
It's a pretty cynical view of power structures, isn't it? That the people at the top are inherently corruptible.
It is, but it also makes the victory of the investigators more satisfying. They are punching up. They are taking down the giants.
And let's talk about those investigators.
Yeah.
We have a very strong lineup of female leads here. Nora Chapman, Joyce, Allison, Harper Morgan Steele. These are competent, driven women.
Yes, and notice the methodology. The Chapmans are the pros. They have resources, DNA testing, mountain raids. They are the established experts with a big, fancy agency.
They're the ones you call when you have $1 million problem.
Exactly. Whereas Joyce and Allison are the gritty ones. They are doing undercover work, getting their hands dirty, fighting in dump sites. They are the boots on the ground.
Their connection is personal, not professional. At least it starts that way.
And Harper, she's the intuitive one. She's the lone wolf. She's driven by emotion, by guilt and empathy. She uses the law and her connections within the police force.
So each story showcases a different facet of investigation. The high-tech, the hands-on, and the heart-led.
I think that's a perfect way to put it.
I also think it's interesting to look at the author herself, Delores Elaine Hill. The notes say she discovered storytelling later in life. Her philosophy is, it's never too late to chase your dreams.
That philosophy is mirrored in her characters. Think about it. Annie starts a whole new career as a detective after her trauma.
A huge life change.
Suzanne starts a new life with a new family in her 20s, having to redefine everything she thought she knew about herself.
And Anthony accepts an inheritance he didn't know he had, becoming a CEO overnight.
They are all starting over or finding a new path. Just like the author, there's a meta-narrative there about second chances.
That's a really beautiful connection. It adds a layer of hope to these mystery stories. It's not just about catching the bad guy, it's about the good guys finding their new purpose.
Exactly. It suggests that even after a kidnapping or an abduction or a brutal attack, there is a next chapter. The trauma doesn't have to be the end of the story.
Okay, let's bring this home. What is the final takeaway for our listener? After exploring these 3 dark cases, why should they care about whispers in the shadows?
I think the core message is that the truth is persistent. In these stories, the truth was hidden in a dusty attic box, in a desk drawer, in a stranger's wallet. It was buried deep.
But it wanted to be found.
It wanted to be found. It suggests there's a kind of cosmic justice at play. The secrets we keep have weight, and eventually they surface.
So it's a reminder to be observant. Be like Annie. Notice the unusual patterns at work or in your community. Don't just dismiss that feeling that something's off.
And be like Harper. Be kind to the stranger on the bus, because you never know who they are or what impact a small act of kindness can have.
Or what trouble it might lead you into.
Well, there is that, but it's about engagement with the world around you.
And be persistent, like the Chapmans. Don't take no for an answer when you know something is wrong. Keep digging.
That's the heart of it. Persistence in the face of deception.
So here is our provocative thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. We all have shadows in our lives, things we don't look at too closely. Maybe it's a weird clause in a contract you signed, a family story that doesn't quite add up, or just a feeling that something isn't right in your workplace or your neighborhood.
If you stopped ignoring those whispers and actually really looked at the ordinary interactions, the unusual patterns in your daily routine, what mysteries might you uncover in your own life?
A little unsettling, but definitely worth thinking about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into mystery and intrigue.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep listening and keep searching for the truth. See you next time.